Okay, so in this last video, we are going to go from point slope form into standard form. So standard form is where we have ax plus by equals c. So really we're trying to get we're trying to get x and y on the same side of the equation, where a is a positive integer, b and c are also integers. Integers are whole numbers. So fortunately enough, if I look at the front of this foldable, I have the same equation in point slope form when I rewrote it from point slope to slope intercept and when I'm writing it from point slope into standard. So what I can actually do is I can rewrite my equation from slope intercept form down here. So I have y equals negative 4x minus 10. So again, all I'm doing is I'm rewriting it in slope intercept form. Now what I can do from here is I can get x on the same side as y. So because this is negative 4x, I'm going to add 4x to both sides. So that cancels out. And I have 4x plus y equals negative 10. And just as a refresher, let's see if this meets all of our requirements for standard form. 4 is a positive integer. There is technically an invisible 1 in front of our y. 1 is also an integer, and our value for c is negative 10, and negative 10 is also an integer. So it meets all of our requirements for standard form. We are completely done. So now we can open up to the center part. And I'm opening up both tabs because, again, they are the same equations from top to bottom. So I can rewrite my equation from slope-intercept form. And what I want to do is I want to get my x and my y terms on the same side. So in this example, since I have a negative 1/2 x, I'm going to add 1/2 x to both sides. And that leaves me with 1/2 x plus y equals positive 5. Now this is great, and I have x and y on the same side of my equation now, but my value for a is not an integer. So what I can actually do is I can multiply this whole side by 2 and the other side of my equation by 2, and that will give me a positive integer for letter A. One thing you can always do is you can always just multiply it by the denominator, and that will give you an integer. So when I do that, 2 times 1/2 is 1x, 2 times 1y is 2y, and this is all equal to 5 times 2, which is 10. Now technically I don't need that 1 in front of my x, so I can also just write x plus 2y equals positive 10. I have a positive integer for x, well technically a, my coefficient of x. 2 is an integer and 10 is an integer, so I am perfectly good. I meet all of my requirements for standard form. Now in this last example, again, I am going to rewrite it from the tab above. So this in slope-intercept form is y equals 2/3 x minus 5. And what I can do from here is, again, I want to get my x and y terms on the same side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 2/3 x from both sides. So I'm left with negative 2/3 x plus y equals negative 5. Now for this one, I am actually going to multiply by a negative 3 because a, my coefficient of x, has to be a positive integer. So negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. So when I distribute this negative 3, oh, my apologies, that should be there, that should be there, and then this is also being multiplied by negative 3. Okay. So negative 3 times negative 2/3 x leaves me with a positive 2x. Negative 3 times y gives me negative 3y. And this is all equal to negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15. Now we have it in standard form. It meets all of our requirements. A is a positive integer. B and C are also integers, so we meet all the requirements of standard form. So my recommendation to you is, if you can, go from point slope to slope intercept, and then use that slope intercept to go to standard form. And that is all about point slope form.